Yeah, Connor Crumman, and I'm with movie Death Blows. Kendall, it is awesome to meet you.
Thanks for having me, Connor.
Yeah, really, the first question that I wanted to ask you is you have, three huge titles: scientist, filmmaker, and nonprofit leader. Which one of these is the most fulfilling to you?
Probably a nonprofit. It's where I spend most of my time doing, even when I'm not physically there, because it's out of the British Virgin Islands mostly. But yeah, that one is the most like impact per effort. The amount of time that I spend working on that to the amount of impact it actually has in research and policy and helping kids there learn about ocean conservation, learning to scuba dive. All of that is for sure the most impactful.
That's what I thought you were going to say.
But
Um,
Shark Week's really fun, so
yeah, no, I've been watching since I was like 4 years old. This is
same,
an
yeah.
opportunity for me. I was stoked. Um, but along with that, for Black Makos of the Abyss this year, is there another shark species following this one that you want to focus on? Because I know you've done a lot with Makos.
Yeah, all of my Shark Week episodes have been on Makos, but funny enough, most of my research that I do is more on like sharks that you would have in the Caribbean. So like lemon sharks, nurse sharks, tiger sharks, starting to discover some hammerheads there. So those are always really cool species as well. One of my favorite things about lemon sharks is that they actually go back to where they were born in order to have their pups, which is kind of like a salmon, for example. So I think that's a really fun fact. And the area that we're studying lemon sharks in is in hopes of being able to protect it since that feeds out into the rest of the Caribbean. So I think I just named you all of my favorite sharks, but makos are certainly the most intimidating of all of those. And I think them being in California waters, which are a bit colder, a bit darker, a bit further offshore, all of that lends to the intimidation factor of them.
Okay, I actually have two follow-up questions to that then. Um, how many of like the nine different species of hammerheads are you finding down there?
We're finding great and scalloped hammerheads,
Okay.
mostly. Yeah, we've only tagged I want to say two of them, but we're starting to see some scalloped hammerheads schooling in areas through j drone videography. So
Okay.
hoping to get more into that research, but yeah, pretty exciting.
Okay. And then you said Makos were I think you said scariest that you've dove with. Why are they scarier than tiger sharks?
Makos are just like less predictable in my opinion. They're also so much faster. They can travel at like 45 miles an hour, so they can go from kind of appearing chill and easy to work with to suddenly, heating their bodies up and having a massive burst of energy. And also, tiger sharks are mostly eating things like sea turtles. Makos are eating large fish and also sea lions. So I'm a little bit more on the menu of a mako shark than I would be of a tiger shark. And not that, that they're looking to attack us or also that accidents can't happen across the board with any shark species. But yeah, there's just something a little intimidating about makos. And I also would say the watercolor and water clarity of where tigers are versus where makos are plays a role in it as well.
Yeah, I didn't think about that at all. um, the other one was you've been a producer and documentary filmmaker. Has there ever been like a crazy moment like on set that didn't make the final cut?
Oh my gosh, of like so many things in my life. Yeah. I often think like the best shows are the ones that aren't filmed. The story of I have you ever seen The Life Aquatic? I always
I have not.
I always think about like it's a show of, people living on a boat making a documentary. And I always think, yeah, it's the behind the scenes that's so often just as interesting. But yeah, I've had tons of moments that didn't end up making the show. I'm trying to think if you're looking for any Shark Week ones in particular. It's so often that there'll be crazy things that happen, and I even like say to the team, like, "Oh my gosh, are we filming this or not?" And if it doesn't totally make sense in the storyline, then it doesn't end up in it, even if it is kind of a crazy thing that happens just because, you didn't in every scene you need to sort of have like an entrance into it, the scene and an exit. And if you weren't filming and suddenly, a dead seal washes up onto your boat, it's like, well, what's the context in the greater, you can't. So yeah, there's so many crazy things that are always happening. But I think especially on these Mako episodes, like just the liveaboard that we're on and how far offshore we are and all of that, I wish kind of made it into the show more because it is like such a funny, like basically camping experience that we're all having together. I always laugh that I'm like, the only time I'm ever on camera is when I literally haven't showered for like 4 days because unless you're in the water on this boat, you don't want to be in that shower. Like it's the same as the toilet. It's just like a little leaky thing right above it. So if you go for a dive, you're gonna rinse off, but otherwise no one is showering. So you're basically on a boat with very unshowered people for multiple days. And yeah, I don't know why I chose the career that you're only on camera for after scuba diving and not showering, but it's the one I chose.
That's funny. That never makes the final cut. That you're there for about 5 days without showering, or 4 days, like you said.
Yeah, you can't, there's not smell-o-vision, so, no one can smell us.
That might be for the best. Do you have like a top three scenes that you've ever filmed, even if they didn't make the final cut, or if they did?
For Shark Week in particular, I honestly think my favorite scene that I've ever filmed was this year with the great white decoy and the black mako that came up. I really like, I don't know how that happened. Like everything that it took us, I want to say what wasn't shown on camera was that it took us probably like 7 hours to get the decoy to float correctly with like sandbags and water and drilling and so, like it was so hard to get it in the water. We also had to get the cage in the water. Like it literally took 7 hours. There wasn't a single shark that came. We got everything there, and then a black mako showed up, and I was like, what are the actual chances of this happening? So everything that could have gone wrong went wrong until we got everything in the water, and then everything that could have gone right went right. So yeah, I think that like if nothing had happened, it would have been so tiring to do that day after day. Just with how hard that decoy was to get into the water and how hard, you don't see us pulling the cages in and out of the water. Those are not light. So yeah. And oftentimes when we have to move the boat, we have to pick up the cage. So it's a lot of it's a huge amount of work to get those in and out of the water in order to go find the sharks. And so often we have Keith ahead of us looking for the sharks. And so if he gets a shark, you pick up, you go. Sometimes the radios don't work, and there's, it's a whole thing. But yeah, I would say by far my favorite episode and scene I've ever shot was this one.
That's awesome to hear. And then I guess for my final question, we have 2 minutes left. Is one of the other episodes that I got to watch was called Attack of the Devil Shark. How do you think titles like this that seem to be becoming more popular on Shark Week are affecting public perception about sharks?
Yeah, it's the line that they have to walk of being interesting enough in the titles and kind of salacious enough to get you to watch, but then still having a message of conservation. So I think it's one of those greater good things with a lot of the entertainment factor that goes into Shark Week. I was also saying some of the big experiments we do seem so silly and just for entertainment, but so often they end up yielding like very cool results. So I think Shark Week has to do what it has to do to get people to tune in, and sometimes that's kind of crazy titles that make it seem even more attacky than they are. But sharks are inherently dangerous. We're just hoping to tell everyone that they still belong in the ocean, and that, your chances of being attacked are very, very low. But I think Shark Week does a great job of walking the line of entertainment and conservation and science, regardless.
Yeah, I've loved sharks my entire life. Like my wedding band has hammerheads on it. So like I've corrected a bunch of people when they say shark infested waters.
Well, technically, all water is shark infested to an extent. If it's salty, there's sharks.
Yeah. All right. Well, I really appreciate this, Kendall. This has been an amazing experience.
Thank you. It was great talking with you.
Yeah, you as well.
Bye.